once again and listening to another episode of the Edible Valley Podcast. I'm chef and host Jonathan Fraser.
And I'm your co-host Aaron Howlett. Join us again as we go on another culinary adventure of the Comox Valley and beyond.
You're listening to episode 162 as we learn a little bit about edible Vancouver Island.
Hey, John.
Darren.
Hey.
We're back at the ice cream shop.
We are.
We're
kind of our new home.
It's our new home, and it's because it's a great place because we're downtown Central Courtenay.
Yeah.
And we get to talk to more people.
Yeah. We haven't had a guest for the last couple, maybe a guest here and there, but today we're making up for it with two guests.
That's right. And we're talking about sort of...
something that we've talked about on here many a times and then never went through with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somebody else has come along doing a much bigger, broader, larger production, which is going to be fantastic. We're going to get into that. We have Dawn Postnikoff with us, as well as Danika Danika McDowell. You might know her either way. And they come to us from Edible Vancouver Island. Thank you. Not Edible Vancouver. Edible Vancouver Island. Maybe we can get into what exactly Edible Vancouver Island is. Let's just jump right into it. Dawn?
Sure.
Yeah?
So Edible Vancouver Island is actually part of Edible Communities. So
Right.
Edible Communities is a national organization across the United States and Canada. So there's 85 titles overall, but only 3 were in Canada up until Edible Vancouver Island started. I'm going to let Danika tell a little bit of the history because she had some background with them. But essentially, we've started up Edible Vancouver Island to really be, it's a magazine and a website to be sort of the resource of all things food and drink related to the island, the Gulf Islands, surrounding areas, really telling the stories about the people behind the businesses and the producers that bring us and prepare our food for us on the island. So
Right.
I'm going to pass it over for that.
And so I have a background with Edible Vancouver, the magazine over there, and I had just moved back to the Valley in December after growing up in Victoria. Yeah, Edible Vancouver, I had been doing a lot of food photography for them and some web work for them, and knew that there was a gap over here and there wasn't an Edible Vancouver Island.
And what exactly, what is Edible, the whole Edible community or the network, what are they really trying to achieve?
Well, that's a good question because it started out as a local food magazine in Southern California.
Right,
So
okay.
Somebody started a magazine and then they started another one and then it got popular and it's not a franchise so much as it's a licensing agreement. So
Yeah.
you basically agree to use that title and it's a trademark license name. But what it's become is really a support for all types of food initiatives across the country. So things like food security, sustainability, conferences and events. So it's a magazine and it's a resource, but really it's about supporting
Right.
food initiatives across the country.
And I think you mentioned before we started that you weren't limited, this isn't limited to a magazine.
No.
This is a bigger project than just the magazine, which is a feat in and of itself.
Yeah, so the magazine itself, we're starting off with quarterly editions, so seasonal editions, where we just put our winter edition to print, so it's going to be out December 1st, so we're really excited about that, and that's been our whole focus the last few months. But aside from the magazine, there's again, our website is a really, really big part of it, ediblevvancouverisland.com, and it's going to be a go-to resource for things like road trips and new restaurants and recipes and articles about what's going on the island from a food and drink perspective, events that are coming up across the island. So it's really going to be...
It wouldn't be just the magazine content, it's going to be more of an expanded version,
Yes.
but also a hub.
Absolutely.
Perfect. That's great.
I think Danika's had some experience with, in other cities with other resources that do a really good job. So we've got some good models to follow.
Yeah, and when I moved over, I recognized that, especially north of the Malahat, there's so many cool foodie things going on.
Right.
And there's nothing to really tie all of those towns and cities together.
That's how we all got started with this. It was these are all these cool people. It was me and Blaine, and Blaine going, who are all these cool people? And me going, hey, there's this farmer over here, or this guy's making this over here. And to have a magazine or a resource that branches out like the whole island. That's pretty amazing.
And it happens all very much word of mouth. But I had friends texting me when they would come to like Parksville, Qualicum, where do I eat? So I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if we had a website or a magazine or Facebook page? So kind of tying all those pieces together.
That's fantastic.
Well, and I've always found it, like driving up and down the island, I'm always like, where are the independent places to go? Like, and I'm not knocking any of the chain restaurants or stuff like that, but like that's how people do, is when they go down, they see a chain restaurant, they stop in because they're like, hey, okay, I know what this is. I know
it's easy, right?
It's easy.
Yeah.
But then it's like because you don't know, and you don't know anything about these places that are sort of off the track, and those are like the core of those communities, and that's where the flavor and the food,
hidden gems.
Hidden gems are,
And you want to support those businesses too. And
and challenge like cooks as artists to create and have their own distinct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the one thing, like as you know, I have West Coast Gourmet as well. So West Coast Gourmet Provisions, which was really focused more on the products and culinary experiences and whatnot. But by starting that, and that was mostly in the Valley, you find all of these initiatives that are going on. So things like Lush. I mean, you've had Lush on here before.
Right.
And there's things like that going on all the way across the island. So we're really excited about being that voice. And we've already done road trips across to Hornby and Salt Spring and out to Ucluelet and out to Souk and Port Renfrew. And we're really making sure that we get involved with all the different communities.
Right.
So it's not just a Victoria or Comox Valley or a regional focus. It's really about really covering.
And I don't know if you have set boundaries or if you have your own particular boundaries, but like how far are you reaching?
That's a little bit up to us in terms of Vancouver and mainland. Lower Mainland is definitely part of Vancouver.
Right.
But we are definitely reaching across to Quadra, Cortez, Malcolm Island. So some of those,
perfect.
Not necessarily just the southern Gulf Islands, but, those other areas. There's not a lot necessarily happening right now on the North Island in terms of, Gold River and that type of thing. But some of the there's some wilderness experiences that have a culinary flavor to them.
Well, I'm looking over at our neighbors here at Nooka Marine.
Exactly.
I know they're starting a new culinary adventure up at their resorts where they bring people in and their chef cooks for them. So
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of these cool things going on that no one knows about unless you're actually there. Like I had no idea until I ran into them and said, I do a podcast. And they're like, oh, we do culinary tourism. I'm like, we should talk about this sometime,
My family did do a trip up to Port Hardy in April, and we had no idea where to eat. So that's a perfect example of, if you go somewhere off the beaten track, at least picking out 3 or 4 places that you can stop in.
And that's where, we're really excited about the website because, people have asked us, well, where are you going to get your content and who's writing for you and that type of thing, and do you, where are you going to learn about all these new things? We have a list so long of things that we could write about that we just, it's a matter of keeping up, and there's so many great restaurants and so many good stories.
You've seen our podcast list of ideas here.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, they're like, are you going to have enough food podcasts to do? And I'm like, I haven't even scratched the surface.
We're like a list of 400 that we want to get to.
Just doing the Comox Valley. We haven't really branched out to a lot of Vancouver Island. So this is kind of, I can see how excited you guys are about this.
Yeah, and for sure. Like one thing we've got on the website right now is winter markets. So there's probably, I think there's 8 listed of indoor markets across the island that people, Comox Valley, obviously we know of this one because it's down the street and they park in your lot every Saturday. But I think there's 8 across the island that are indoor farmers markets through the winter. So those types of things we'll post on the website and have access to.
And also finding, I guess, local ambassadors or people to tell those stories in the communities, because we can't be everywhere at once. So we've got some great ones in Campbell River and some great people in Victoria, but finding those people as well, or having them come to us so they can tell us what's going on.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so obviously the beauty of the internet is that the website's available to everyone, but whereabouts would people be able to find the magazine?
The magazine, so starting off, obviously we want to support our advertisers, so we want to send traffic to their businesses. But while we're still growing that list, we're really going to be promoting it in local restaurants, coffee shops, farmers markets. We've got in several of the hotels on the island, which is really exciting, so that we can attract the tourists.
There'll definitely be copies of Blue Spruce ice cream.
Yeah, we'll have
Blue
a
Spruce
few in
ice
here.
cream,
If not, just for
exactly.
me to browse through. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and we will be listing those on the website as well in terms of where they can find the copies.
Now, for people who haven't seen this and because it hasn't come out, what's the look of the magazine going to be like? Is there a...
Danika, what's the look going to be like?
I'm thrilled to say you because
That's the nice thing about edible communities is they've set the bar very high, and I mean there's beautiful paper quality, really gorgeous photos, and
It really is. It's a combination of good storytelling and really amazing images. So it's a nice coffee table kind of magazine. And people talk about print advertising and print magazines not being popular anymore. But as foodies, you guys know if there's any magazine that's going to last, the foodie magazines, they're the ones. And people have years worth. In fact, before I moved out here, I had I think 3 or 4 editions of Edible Vancouver in my cupboard back at home still, just that I'd collected when I was out here visiting. So
it's the type of thing you keep around. And
I was actually just cleaning up my office, and I have a stack of Rifflandia books, and I'm like, these are so unapplicable to anything that I've got going on, but they're beautiful, they're out of Victoria, they're whatever. And I think that's the thing, is that a magazine is relevant, or books are relevant, because it's a tactile, especially when there's a focus on the photography and the layout, where you have this beautiful tactile thing in front of you, and there's a certain attachment to it, right? And I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think that's just sort of human nature. We want to hoard the beautiful things. We want to keep them. So high quality magazines, even years after they've stopped being relevant, are still in my cupboard.
And from a food perspective, they're inspiring. They're like having cookbooks. You may still Google a recipe, but you might just sit and flip through the magazine and flip through the cookbooks for ideas of how to use an ingredient, or apples are in season. I should do something with those. And
that's how I started my cooking career. Is I remember like all my parents' old cookbooks, and I was looking for the picture books, and I would just flip through, and I'd be like, I like how that looks. I want to learn how to make that.
Exactly.
And because you eat with your eyes, right? Like the first eyes, like you see it, and so
it's exciting. So.
And I know Danika does beautiful photos, because I mean we've hired her here, like full disclosure, at Blue Spruce to do photos for our ice cream, and I think our Instagram has taken off because of the photos you do.
You.
So
and my background is like incredibly. I always say I'm a Jill of all trades, because I've done so many different crazy things as far as starting my journey as a graphic designer and being a food photographer. So now all of a sudden all the skills make sense. Because I really need to use them all.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's quite, this is the first time we've worked on a project together, and it's funny because when we first met, we said, we have some similarities, we should work on a project. No, we decided to start a magazine and a website, and it's kind of go big or go home, but we really do complement each other in terms of skills. So Danika is definitely the creative, and I like to think that I'm a little more the business strategy side, and so between the two of us, we seem to cover the bases and keep each other in line, and
that's great.
We haven't had too many fist fights yet. No.
I know that we didn't talk about this at all beforehand either. If there's anybody out there, are you soliciting for content? Are you open to people submitting?
Absolutely. So there's 2 pieces to that. So again, on the website, there's a section for people that are interested in contributing.
Right.
We are looking for content for the web for sure. And if people have ideas of topics, or if they want to submit articles, we've got a lot of bloggers that we've already reached out to and that are working with us and sending us some information. And in fact, one of them, so Sean Galway is part of the Chefs Association, which we all know, and he submitted an article that we thought we would put on the website, and we ended up printing it in our first edition.
Oh wow!
So that's amazing, and we've got writers that are passionate foodies and bloggers, and we've got other writers that are professional writers and have written cookbooks and are known across the country. So it's a real combination.
Yeah.
So the short answer is yes.
Right.
But again, it's there's multiple ways that they can get involved.
Right. So what are some of the difficulties you've found with putting this magazine together, or has it just been easy?
Easy, I wouldn't
Nothing is ever
say.
easy, right?
I don't think anything was really surprising.
No, I think we both really love learning new things. So, I mean, there was just so many firsts. So many things that we had never done before.
Yeah, and I think because we were starting a business and we were starting a new title and trying to get our first issue out before Christmas, so we were
Right.
really on a tight timeline.
I don't think many of the magazines have started quite as quickly as we did. So I think it was pretty much 6 months from conception to being on the shelves.
Yeah, you kind of started about the same time this ice cream shop started.
Yeah.
I was amazed by how fast you guys opened as well. So
I mean,
guess when you put your mind to
us
it.
quite a bit, you know, and I have to blame both of you for getting this established because, I mean, if it wasn't for Dawn and that downtown dinner, I would never have done this first tip sorbet, which got me going, and then.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
that
like
was
that's kind of
the instigator.
The instigator.
Shared blame. I like that.
Being like that flavor was so amazing, but like I mean,
I'm gonna blame you for the 10 pounds I put on since I've been eating ice cream. So
that's fair. I'll take that.
in terms of other challenges, one of the things that's different about this particular issue is the regional coverage. So some of them, I mean, Vancouver, it's Vancouver. So yes, Vancouver is large, but you know, it's still in one area. We're taking ferries, we're driving across mountains. We're, you know, it's. I mean, the good thing is we have such an amazing region to explore, and we love that. And so, you know, darn, we have to go to Tofino again. You know, it's a real struggle. But having said that, you know, trying to reach everybody and trying to be everywhere at once is, you know.
Yeah, well, I think most people don't realize how big this island is, and like being located in Courtenay, we're kind of the center of the island, but it's 3 hours to the south of the island, it's 3 hours to the north of the island, and that's highway speed, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
And there's so many people who don't go much farther than Nanaimo, I think, which is so, you know, it's like I want to bring people up farther, and people are used to taking that road to Ucluelet to Tofino, but it's like, well, come up here. There's so many other places that aren't explored as often. So
yeah,
and I feel there's a lot of the North Island that I'd love to go up and explore again that I haven't gotten up to. That like, there's beautiful spots and they have beautiful food up there. So it's like.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the other things that we found is some of the titles as well, they focus on either locals or tourists depending on where they are. So, you know, there's places in regular towns like Santa Fe or Albuquerque that are more focused on the locals, but then others are focused on the tourists.
Right.
And what we find here is it's a real combination because many of the locals are tourists in our own land, right? So we have time off and we're exploring Port Renfrew or Tofino, or going over to Hornby or up to Quadra, and, you know, and that's how we live on the island. So it's kind of fun being able to do both, but at the same time, you know, you can't be everything to everybody, and we realize that. So.
Well, I can't speak for John, but I definitely look forward to seeing how you guys explore and watching this all unfold, and you know, getting into that great content and those undiscovered gems and shedding light on everything. I think that's going to be great. I look forward to the first issue for sure.
Well, thanks. And like I say, December 1st is our target. We're a little dependent on printer schedules and freight delivery times and whatnot, but that's what we're hoping for. And we're on social, so you can find us at Edible Van Isle, and on the website is ediblevvancouverisland.com.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following your Facebook page, and there's always like neat little articles that I don't even think of that pop up on there, and then I guess.
Yeah, and we're trying to do lots of events too. So there's ways to submit events on the website, and we're trying to keep those on Facebook as well. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because it's amazing how many events go on this island, and it's like each community has a dozen events every day. And they're all around food. So it's so
it's hard to figure out, you know, which ones to really, you know, be able to list, because you could list hundreds. You know, and they're all good and they're all exciting and
interesting. How have you found support from the local communities? Like, are they all on board? And
you know what? We've found support from the local communities, from the local businesses, from consumers, from even other magazines have been really, really supportive. And I don't think we've come across any challenges from that.
No, it will really just be getting everywhere. I think getting to all the Gulf Islands, and really spreading the love.
Yeah, but everybody seems to be quite excited and.
I guess that's that trick of bringing everyone in, like giving everyone an equal
Yeah.
voice in it.
Yeah.
from
And it might
each-
take a little bit of time
Yeah.
too to get to everyone. But
Well, I've always found that, like with Victoria, like once you hit the Malahat, it seems like, other than unless you're in the Cowichan Valley Farm, you're kind of ignored once you get past there.
Yeah.
So, but
Well-
and it's because of the population density. There's a lot of people down in Victoria.
Yeah,
Right.
and we want Victoria to be part of this as well.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to do just north of the Malahat. Victoria is a really vibrant community, and it's a big part of the magazine. And we've had really, we were probably a little concerned about what kind of support we get from there, just because we are, from the valley as opposed to being from Victoria, and we've had nothing but good positive feedback from
Oh,
the
wow.
area. So.
That's great.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of excited to see this magazine and see what happens in it. Like this. And I wish you guys both the best of luck.
Thank you so
I
much.
don't think I need to, because I think this is going to shoot off, and it's going to be a major stay in everywhere around Vancouver Island. So
Yeah.
Thanks, John. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks for joining us again on the Edible Valley.
yeah, and so yeah, what's the date again for the coming out?
December 1st,
December
we'll be
1st.
distributing, and so you'll see it very soon.
And
Perfect.
then email once again, just for anyone who's interested in getting in contact with you guys.
Email, probably the best one is info@ediblevancouverisland.com.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Well, thanks again for listening to the episode of the Edible Valley, and don't forget to follow us and check us out. Hopefully we'll get some stuff in their magazine about our shows and what's going on.
Right. Yeah. Oh, keep turning.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thanks a lot. And once again, remember, keep it fresh, keep it flavorful, and keep it fun. Thanks for listening to the Edible Valley Podcast.